Welcome to this council meeting on the 17th of June 2026. Our exits are out the front and out the back. And we have, do we have any apologies for absence? No, okay. Thanks. Has anyone got any interest or requests for dispensations that they would like to declare now? Okay, as always, if you remember one, please bring it up later on. There are a couple of chair's announcements, and I can find them in a second. So they're very easy. First of all, fantastic. Many congratulations to David, who's obviously received his CBE, Commander of the British Empire. What does it stand for?
Commander of the Order of the British Empire.
Commander of the Order of the British Empire. So well done. Yeah. I did observe that there's only 200 given out every year, I think, and it's one step down from a knighthood. So we'll wait for that next year, and it's above an OBE and an MBE. So, yeah. I don't know, but well done, David. So that was some good news. There's a couple of other things I just wanted to bring up. So not such good news. So people are familiar with Community Infrastructure Levy, which is the money paid to the Town Council and North Somerset by developers. We had a note out of the blue from North Somerset recently asking for a refund of £61,000, which relates to the Marina Gardens development. The background is that, as we know, it changed use. It was built, and then the developers couldn't sell the apartments for private buyers. So it was eventually bought by a consortium, led by Alliance Homes, and now run it. But North Somerset Council put about £2 million at the time into the purchase of that, and it obviously changed to be social housing, part buy, part rent, as a kind of mixture, basically. So this meant that the kind of usage changed, and we all knew this at the time. I remember distinctly talking to Janet actually, and made the comment that, oh, that's brilliant news for the town, because 127 people are going to come off the social housing list, but it won't be very good for our SIL receipts. Yeah, so but it's taken North Somerset 5 years to write to us and say we want some money back, which puts everyone in an invidious position, because on one hand we have to spend the money within 5 years, on the other hand we're asked to provide the money back. I'll come back to in a minute. So anyway, there are, it's not 100% clear, but it is. I mean, basically, North Somerset can ask for SIL money back if it's not been spent, or it's been spent incorrectly, and that's, well, obviously in this case, that is, we have spent the money and we spent it correctly in line with the regulations. It is, and then you move into a sort of grey area, and the legal advice is, we're still getting more legal advice about whether they're actually allowed to ask for a refund in other circumstances. So Steve has been seeking different legal opinions, and at the moment it's a grey area. Okay, so all I really wanted to do today is just it's basically for us to pass a motion to instruct Steve to to take further legal advice and come back to the full council before making any commitments on any repayments to North Somerset. Okay, and I'm doing that because I just want so that Steve doesn't feel as if he's being put in a corner by North Somerset, and gives us the time to actually look at this properly and sensibly and get the right legal advice. And clearly, with £61,000 at stake, it's worth getting some legal advice. So Janet, did you want to say anything?
First of all, I think 5 years is pretty good for North Somerset. And the second thing is, can't we take 5 years of doing it?
There are, yes, well, we'll come to that. There are different ways of repaying it. One would be over obviously a period of time. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense to, well, they did ask for immediate repayment, I think, but clearly that's not sensible. But, so basically we have a motion to instruct Steve to take legal advice and come back to the full council before making any commitments to North Somerset on repayment. Mike proposed that. John seconded. All those in favour of that? Thank you. All right.
Excuse me, can we sort of draft something that says go away? That light.
Okay, but there is some greyness in this, so we need to sort of go and get some legal advice and then come back with a considered. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The second one is we have an account with Lloyds Bank, which we've been trying to close and remove money from for some time. The issue is that the only signatories are ex-councillors, no current councillors. So we've been going around in circles with Lloyds Bank, and we discussed this earlier in Staff and Finance, and we just want to basically instruct instruction to authorise two of the past councillors, who would be Tanya Slatter and Sue Mason, who are signatories on the account, for us to authorise them to sign the mandate to close the account and transfer the money out of Lloyds. For those been here a while, dealing with Lloyds Bank is extremely painful, and we've been going around in circles for months on this, and we still have £600,000 in their account, not earning very much money. So we need to expedite this. So the proposal is for the council to agree to authorise Tanya Slatter and Sue Mason to sign this Lloyd's closure of account notice. Okay. All right, second, Rog. All those in favour? Thank you very much. All right, so we'll get on and do that straight away. Minutes of the previous meeting. Is there any questions? Any issues? No, I'm not seeing any. So recommendation that the minutes of the council held on the 13th of May be approved as a correct record and signed by the chair. Proposer, Rog. Oh, sorry. Jenny proposed, Rog seconded. All in favour? Okay, thank you. There are some reports here that have already been through Staff and Finance earlier this evening. We have the internal auditor's report and the AGAR certificate. Okay, so we have an internal audit carried out and an external audit, and basically passed with flying colours. So many thanks to Rachel for doing all the work on that. So there are no issues that we could see in Staff and Finance. Is anyone else got any questions? Yeah, just to repeat. Just to repeat that, because I don't think you've got your microphone on there, John, but
the report does refer to us diversifying our bank accounts in order to minimise our potential losses should anything go wrong, and to take advantage of the financial services scheme that protects retail deposits. In fact, we don't qualify for that scheme anyway, and the internal auditor needs to make a correction to his report in respect of that.
Yeah. Okay, so that aside, that is noted. So the recommendation is to approve the findings and outcome of the internal audit of 2025-26. Rog proposed, John second. All in favour? Okay. Accounts for the year 31st of March 26. John, did you want to say anything about them? Microphone.
Sorry, I've got one over here now. Yeah, The bottom line, which is all that really matters, is that we actually showed a surplus during the year of about £280,000, which goes straight into our general reserves. The main reason for that is simply that expenditure on the whole devolution process has been running very much slower than was anticipated when we set the precept for that year. In addition, we also budgeted for the marina railings and the Bottolino's walkway, two very big sums, about £90,000 between them. And neither of those came to fruition during the year, and they've been rebudgeted in this year. So it's a case not so much of real underlying savings, although there were some, but more a case of expenditure being delayed into this year.
Okay, thanks, John. So the recommendation is to approve the accounts for the financial year ended 31st of March 26. John and Marianne seconded. So you need to get a hand up quick. All those in favour? Okay. So the next one is the consolidated bank reconciliation as of the 31st of March. Are there any recommendations that we need to consider, John?
Thank you. Only to close the two Lloyd's accounts and replace them with Insignis investments, which will diversify our risk.
Okay. So the recommendation is to consider, note and approve the consolidated bank reconciliation for 31st of March 26. Tim, would you like to propose that one? Yeah, David seconded. All those in favour? Okay, lovely. So it's an agar jelly or some sort. Annual governance and accountability return. Okay, so this is we basically have to publish this agar, which basically says that we're in good financial health. Again, is there any recommendations that we need to?
There are no recommendations concerning this, apart from the fact that it's consistent with the accounts. We ought to approve it.
Okay, brilliant. Okay. We have a governance statement and accounting statements. Again, is there anything that we need to note? No. Okay.
No, it's ticks all the way down, apart from one not applicable.
Okay. So recommendation to sign and approve sections 1 and 2 of the AGAR, the annual government statement 25-26, the accounting statements for 25-26, and to note that the period of public rights for 25-26 will commence on the 19th of June and then on the 31st of July 26. For those who are not aware, the public has the right to come in and inspect our accounts for that period. If you're of that inclination. So that's the recommendation. Someone wants to propose? Janet, second. All in favour? Okay. Right. So I thought there was one about what's happened to the one about the water things. No, not on this particular version. It's not. No? Yeah, that's odd. Yeah.
I will confirm it's missing on this one, yes.
Right, the water supplier contract. So thanks, Mike. It's done a good piece of work. Basically, the current variable rate charge, I think, would mean that we'd be paying an extra £3,000 over 3 years if we stayed on that. So Mike has gone ahead and got us onto a fixed rate, which saves us a lot of money. So thanks, Mike, for doing that. Appreciate it. So that was already done because it was obviously a no-brainer. So we're just noting the report and the decision taken to change the council's water and sewage supplier as described. So, okay, so that's been done. Number 10. So, and thanks for coming on this evening, Mike. So the Folkwall audio visual equipment. So Mike has been working on the options for the whole. As we know, the whole audio visual setup is not great. The at least one of the cameras no longer works, and we're very beholden to the box of tricks in the corner, which means that if something goes wrong, That's quite a challenge. It also means we can't change the layout of the room because everything comes through there and all these wires around. Quite a lot of equipment's quite old and so forth. So Mike's got a couple of options. Would you like to just talk to us, Mike, about the different options? I think so. It's quite interesting.
Fundamentally, I think I'll start by just emphasising these are options. You don't need to follow them. They're just a suggestion. We do need to replace small items of equipment, the mixer, the amplifier and the hearing loop. Those are musts, but that's a small expenditure that's going to talk. We're talking low four figures for that. What I would like a steer on is whether the council would like to look at going to a wireless solution for a lot of our audiovisual equipment. So we're no longer relying on trailing cables everywhere. And the two basic versions or options we have are a system which will replace the existing wired microphones that we're using on the desks with a wireless version of the same. It will also include things like, rather than having a monitor that's wired to the box in the corner, it will include wireless solutions for all of the cameras. So everything will be completely wireless. We don't have to have trailing wires. It's easier to manage. The other more technical solution, which I find quite interesting, is fundamentally that we could have a ceiling tile which contains something like 64 microphones arranged in a star pattern. And it was using very clever electronics. It picks up whoever is speaking without them having to press a button. And it will automatically then focus the camera. Well, I'm suggesting we move from multiple cameras to one camera at some distance away, and it will focus it on the speaker. So that's a very clever piece of tricks. The one significant downside with that is he who speaks loudest gets on camera.
Also, no smart remarks because they'll, God, that would be terrible.
So it's really a case of those. Does the council wish to pursue a wireless option? This is the reason I haven't put 3 quotes in, because I don't want to waste respectfully my time getting 3 quotes if the council don't wish to pursue that option. Or if they do wish to pursue that option, do they have a preference as to which of the 2 wireless solutions we look at, ceiling tile or desktop microphones?
Okay, cool. Any views, Mike and Janet?
Well, mine is just very brief. With the mics on our desks, will we still need to be pressing buttons?
Yes, it's effectively the wireless version of these microphones.
Right. And you can answer this at the end, but do you have a preference for one of these systems?
Technical side of me says I like the practical side of me says I think the desktop microphones is slightly more expensive. I tried to keep the price down by opting for 10 microphones, which would be a 1 between 2 option. And they come with a recharging pack, so they're all rechargeable, and then they just go into the case, recharged, and we bring them out when we need to.
Yeah, Janet, and then Mike. Yeah.
Seriously, though, I think that the rechargeable microphones will be better, because that more scattered system could pick up things that you don't want heard, particularly from me. But actually, it would probably stop us being frank at times, particularly if we were concerned about whether it was overhearing us. And I think that would constrict what we say and do.
Cool. Thank you. Mike?
I think from what I've heard, the wireless option would give more control to the chair and the meeting. So I think that's my preferred option. My only question is, Can the wireless system fail us? And if it does, what happens then?
The current system fails us. The simple reality is, yes, it can. I think some of our biggest problems at the moment are down to the two items that we've identified that do need replacing in the mixer and the amplifier specifically. But yes, it can fail. Hopefully it will be more reliable than the existing system. I have to coax this along every so often and give it a stroke just to try and get it to play along. And as we've seen occasionally, when I haven't been around, it does do strange things.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Roger. Yeah, and then Jenny.
So I guess from my perspective, the answer is yes. Yes, I think we should have a wireless system. I think the system we're using now is very out of date, clunky, awkward, makes it almost impossible to have any other layout of meeting to the ones that we have. And I think as the type of council we are, we'd like to have different meeting layouts.
Yeah.
So yeah, most definitely. As opposed as the desk mics versus the in-room mic, the in-room mics are absolutely fantastic. There's nothing wrong with them. But in this layout in a hall, as Mike said, whoever speaks the loudest gets broadcast to the entire room. The problem is also whoever rustles their papers or coughs or anything else also gets broadcast to the room as well. And if you've got members of the public in here and they're talking amongst themselves, that could also be broadcast to the entire room. On Janet's point, actually, if you don't want to be overheard saying it, don't say it in a meeting, Janet. That's the best bet on that one. And all technology fails, but it's the probability of it failing, isn't it? And if we're replacing the technology, then the probability of failure is going to reduce. So I would be in favor of the desktop wireless microphones for those reasons.
Jenny? Well, Jenny first, and David.
Okay. Yes, we should update them. I like the idea of the one up there only because if we're thinking beyond just us as a group of councillors and you want flexibility for other groups, community groups, or other ways of interacting around tables or whatever we decide to do, it might give us more flexibility than just having 10. But I hear what you're saying about, yeah, it picks up everything. Is there anywhere we can go and see or listen to one in action so we can get a feel for how it works and how many crisp packets it does scrunch?
I will be honest to say I'm not aware of any other users in the immediate area. I can go back to the company that I've been speaking to and see if they have any installed. It was a new solution that they were talking about, although they were saying it is actually a very reliable solution. The main thing is where it points the camera rather than it will pick up all the voices. So it would pick up the background as well. But the person who's speaking the loudest is the one that will end up on camera.
David.
Just a couple of things. I think you answered the first one. It was about, I mean, it's a lot of money, isn't it? 17,000, but these are reaching the end of their natural lifespan by the sounds of things. So we'll have to replace them sooner rather than later. The second thing was Wi-Fi, and I guess our current system depends on Wi-Fi as much as the new system would.
Very much so, particularly when we're talking about the streaming of the video. That's absolutely dependent on Wi-Fi. The actual internal system here and the recording wouldn't depend on that Wi-Fi, and doesn't at this time.
Yeah. Okay.
And I guess just the last question is one of transportability. You know, I guess the wireless system is more transportable to other settings. If, for example, this hall was out of action for a while, whereas something up in the ceiling might be less so.
A lot of the elements are physically installed in this building. You have wireless transmitters, but you also have a series of wireless receivers which will sit in the box in the corner. So it isn't realistically a transportable system.
Okay, but yeah, if the building closed for 3 months, we would probably make the effort to do it, but not on a weekend. Yeah, okay, fine.
I tend to think that we're discussing this in the format of us sitting around in council meeting, whereas if, for example, this hall was filled with a presentation going on with a speaker at the front, they might have this system. Is that compatible still with either of these two options? And if you wanted questions coming from the floor with a roving mic, it would be difficult perhaps to be picking up a physical desk one to be then taking around to various people in the hall, whereas that system, of course, would be picking people up automatically if they want to answer or ask a question.
We would be replacing this system altogether. We'd be replacing this with a wireless system in some shape or form, or with the microphone array. So these would then go out of use.
So,
we have, however, upgraded recently to 4 wireless roving microphones, which can be used alongside either system, either this system, the system in the ceiling, or the replacement wireless desktop microphones. So we can use a combination of those.
Okay, so that gives us even more flexibility. We can still use the roving mics plus the wireless.
And in terms of sharing one between, say, this group, how much more would it cost if you upped it to 14, 15 units? Would it be half as much again, or would it be kind of less?
I would need to check we'd need realistically probably at least 16 units. I know there was talk at one stage about increasing the number of councillors to 15.
Yeah, one more, yeah.
In addition, you're going to need one for a guest or anybody public speaking. So you're looking at least 16 units. And I think it's around about £1,000 for 2 microphones, around about there. But that also increases the number of receivers we need, and might lead to us needing another more advanced mixer, because each needs to come through a separate channel.
You're inferring that 10 is too little, then we need more than 10.
I think we can get away with 10, so long as you're willing to share the microphones.
Seems quite a reasonable thing to do. I mean, yeah, fine. Yeah, I'm quite happy to share. Yeah, Janet, and then Roger. Yeah.
I suppose this scatter thing with in the ceiling, having known that having all of us have known that we've had issues with members of the public in the past. Do we really want them to completely control the meeting by just shouting over everybody?
Good point. Roger.
Did you want an answer to that question? I was going to say, yeah, sharing microphones, that's fine, unless we have another bout of COVID. Then it's probably not such a good idea. So who knows what's coming in the future? I would prefer that we started with a quote for 15 or 16 microphones, and then we could then as a group decide whether or not we could justify knocking something off that to reduce the money. But start with that would be the best one. As far as array microphones go, I have seen them in use. They are absolutely fantastic pieces of kit. If anyone's ever used an OWL for video conferencing, that's got an array microphone in it, and that's how it manages to point the camera at all the people in the room and register them up and move it round. But they have their limitations, and I feel the hall's a bit large for it, which may be why there's not very many in use in this type of setting. So I know the OWL has around about a 6 foot range on it, and then you have to put repeater microphones in. So it may not be the best one for this type of solution, and certainly doesn't tick the boxes when it comes to trying to control a meeting if you've got some belligerent people in the room, which, as Janet mentioned, may have happened in the past.
John.
Thank you for, I don't know what I'd do without having it.
Yeah, the new system comes with someone to turn the microphone on with you as well. So.
That's all firstly, I'm all in favour of a wireless system, not least because I tripped over the wires this evening. Secondly, I don't have any particularly strong feelings as between the two options that Mike has outlined, but I do have a marginal preference for the desktop system. And thirdly, we have no budget for it.
Mhm.
We do have a small contingency reserve, but you pay us your money, you take your choice. But the contingency reserve is only 10K.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I just thought you'd like to know that.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, John. There was always a financial reason. I think the consensus seems to be yes, we should get a wireless system, and preference for option one, if I understand that's the wireless desktop solution. I note your point, John, but I think given the sorry, is that option two? Is it? Yeah, it's option two. To be clear, is the desktop microphones. But I think realistically, we're looking at a up to a £20,000 investment. So I suggest we give you this. Well, I think we give the authority to get some quotes within that budget, and then come back for approval, which will have to be at a full council because it's over £10,000. Yeah, we can do that, or we can just authorise Mike to go and get the quotes and get on with it. Any views? I mean, I'm happy to do the latter if we want. Yeah.
Can I just ask one more question whilst we have Mike here in the room? And that's, how old are these? How long have these lasted? And I'm assuming that the new ones will be of similar quality and therefore be expected to last roughly the same amount of time. So this, whatever we're investing in this, how long do we think we would get from that?
I've been unable to find any reference to the purchase of these. I can go back to 2019 and I can actually find an email from my predecessor where when the independents first took control of the council, they asked that my predecessor looked at replacing these with a wireless solution at that time.
Yeah.
They've been in manufacture since 2008. So I can only say that they are no older than 2008, no younger than 2019.
Yeah, they were certainly here in 2014, 15. So yeah, Mike and then
briefly.
Mike, so we're conscious of time. So Mike and then Janet, and then we'll come to the resolution. So yeah.
Mike, is there any reason why the system which Paul's wearing, we couldn't all have one of those? In terms of, I guess, you know, majority of meetings probably don't have more than 14, 15 people here in this format.
We could potentially, we would need a lot more receivers. We can only physically have 2 headsets or handsets, one of either or, per receiver, and each receiver takes up space within the box itself. They're a half unit wide. So whilst we could do it, I know how much it would cost. I can work that out in my head. 16 would be £8,000. No, 16, because we just done, yeah, 16 would be £8,000.
Cheaper, but not as convenient.
Not cheaper because that's just the microphones.
Right.
This quote includes all the other AV equipment that goes with that. The microphones are a smaller element of that.
Okay.
And we would definitely need a more capable mixer, and that would up the price again.
Okay.
Yeah. Janet, last point.
Can we sell this system?
Well, this old one. Oh.
No, but there might well be some way of getting rid of
I
it.
think you might be able to give this away somewhere, I think. Yeah. It's that old. Technology has moved on massively, so that's possibly, but I think it'll be a giving it away type. Yeah. Right. What I'd suggest is, because it's a reasonable amount of money, isn't it? So a budget should be allocated for the replacement, blah, blah, blah. Authority delegated to the community halls manager. I was going to add in conjunction with the finance chair and the chair of the council. Is that okay? Yeah. So we'll delegate to the community halls manager, the chair of the council and the chair of staff and finance to award the contract. So that's just, obviously Mike can get on with it, but we'll have a conversation around the budget and so forth. Is that okay? Right. Anyone like to second? Alan, second? Yeah. And all in favour of that? All right. Thank you. Okay. So the last item is the engagement of a project manager to help us with the devolution program. So as you know, well, partially because no. Obviously, we've now got compressed timescales. We were hoping that devolution, the land would have transferred in April. It's now looking end of June, July-ish. We have compressed timescales to get on with a lot of projects that we need to get done this year. One being a new tender for the grounds maintenance contract. We have the cafe tender. We have various projects we'd like to do on the lake grounds. Some player improvements, etc., etc. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and it needs some project management to basically pull it all together and make it happen, because the best will in the world, Steve and everyone else in the office has also got business as usual operational jobs to do at the same time. So we need someone focused with the project management skill set who will basically be there to make sure all these things happen to the timescales that we agree. All right, that is the role. I guess our view is this is like most kind of project management roles. I'm looking at a project manager over there, so she'll understand. You know, there's a need to get this delivered, but it's not an ongoing need. We don't need to hire a permanent member of staff to do this. What we need is someone with the right skill set to come in and get the job done. We're thinking for a maximum period of up to 6 months, which a maximum budget of £50,000. So obviously we'd be looking for an independent contractor type person who would come in and do this, obviously with the requisite skill set. So the recommendation is we delegate the town clerk to finalise the job spec, get some quotes and make an appointment, and obviously provide the updates to the council. For those of you who were here in the last council, you might remember we had a lady called Rachel Nash, who was our project manager for the skate park, who did this job on a kind of part-time basis, but that was just for the skate park. So it worked well. Rachel just focused on getting the skate park in and didn't have to do with any of the other council business that was going on. So that's the recommendation. Would anyone like to make a comment, or Rog?
Yeah, I think in agreeing to take all of this over, we've taken a huge leap of faith, and we've asked quite a lot of the electorate in the area as well by putting up the precept to pay for these things. I think it's really important now that we've nearly got this across the line, that we deliver, and we don't drag our heels in delivering, but we deliver at pace to show people that that the trust they put in us when we did this was founded. And I think this is the first part of that process of delivery, making sure that we actually have a sound plan in place to get stuff moving, because it's too much otherwise. Unless you've got somebody overseeing the whole thing, it's just too much for the council or our existing officers to deal with. So I'm happy to, if that was a proposal, I'm happy to second it.
Yeah, Mike?
I just thought it'd be helpful just to ask the question. How do you see this remit linking in with the existing and emerging briefs of the existing staff and the staff that we're going to appoint?
I think the staff are appointing, for example, a green space officer to support Lucy. That is very much an operational job. So you're going to find that person, monitoring algae levels at the lake grounds, fixing the bins that are broken or whatever else, and getting those sort of things done. Very much operational. This is a project management role, not an operational role. It's to basically deliver new projects, which means there'll be new services or capability delivered into the council, and then that will be run by the operational people under Steve's auspices. I mean, I think the project manager will be reporting to you, Steve, as well, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. And another point to make is obviously, well, as Paul's already indicated, we do have multiple work streams, and it's that layer of complexity that really we need somebody who's dedicated on just devolution rather than being into it. And I guess the other point to make as well is obviously we have now recruited a new deputy, but they won't be starting for another 3 months. We've already been without a deputy, for a significant period of time. So that's obviously also having an impact on BAU, and that reinforces the need to have that focus, because we're already slightly under what we should be as a full officer team.
Thanks, Steve. Mike?
A bit like the microphones, do I assume that this up to 50,000 is outside the current budget parameter?
The good news is that when we first set up devolution as a pie in the sky ambition, we set aside 250,000 for setup costs, and we can still cover this 50,000 in that 250,000. I would also add that we have previous experience of using a project manager, Osmond Tricks, in connection with the halls, and that worked extremely well.
Yeah, well, it was absolutely essential, wasn't it? And it actually saved us a lot of money because they managed the project diligently to the budget. Yeah. So it was a reassuringly expensive but very good consultant. To use your phrase, David.
Just so we can be realistic about what's achievable for a project manager in post for 6 months, how many months did we employ a project manager to navigate the skate park?
It was a bit of a different beast. It was over a 12-month period, but it was 1 day a week. So it was more of a part-time, but yeah. And it was a longer gestation period because they had to go through the planning process, and then there was a gap, and then there was, so it was a bit of a longer burn project here. This one we've got sort of shorter, more focused activities to get done in a shorter timescale. Like, for example, the tender has got to be out and signed by December. So.
I guess what will help them is if we can prioritise of those projects, which for the residents are the most important, because there are quite a lot of projects and ambitions.
Yeah, so we'll be doing some work on that over the next couple of weeks, really, because obviously not only just for this job, but clearly for Steve and the office's sanity, and there needs to be a priority list. We can't do everything all at once. I see, Jenny, I think,
Roger, I just think we cannot mess up on this. And Osmond Tricks, watching that project manager operate, they absolutely kept us on task in budget. And I think with Steve holding the reins, he just needs somebody that he can delegate to and know that they are going to hold him to account and make us deliver. So I think we need to do it.
Okay. All right. So the recommendation is to approve the engagement of the project manager for up to 6 months to a maximum budget of £50,000, and delegated to Steve to finalise the job spec, get the quotations, appoint the person, and provide updates to us. Okay, do I have a proposer? Watch.
Just before proposing, Paul, can I just suggest that maybe the 6 months we give a time frame that could be extended if needed? Sometimes these projects don't always go to plan.
Yeah, I think this is that's very true. Yeah, this is an approval for the 6 months. I think if we will come back in 4 months' time, if we'll see where we are in 4 months' time. But I think for now we'll get a 6 month. Right. So Roger is going to approve. Mike seconded. All those in favour? Okay. Communication. I mean, there's not really a lot to communicate from this items. It's not particularly public consumption, really. I don't think they would. Any views on? Just, I mean, what do we want to say? We've got a clean bill of financial health. Yeah. Oh yeah, we should. Oh yeah, we should. Yeah, we can get. That's a good point. So if we can just get Amy to just do a quick financial one-liner summary and to notify people that accounts are available for public viewing, that would be good. Yeah. Okay. Right. Date of next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, before you close the meeting, can I just make note of telling councillors that as we are the landlords of the Portishead Youth and Community Centre, that on Saturday, this coming Saturday, they're having an event all day between 11 and 4 to celebrate 60 years of being open. And they'd very much like councillors to attend. They had a little presentation at 1:30 this afternoon, and I went, and it was very good. So this is an array of events. I won't go through them all because I know that Roger's waiting to rush off, and with others perhaps. So 11 till 4 on Saturday down at the PYCC, and everyone's welcome. It's all free entry, and there'll be lunch in the cafe if you turn up at that particular time. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for that. And the date of the next meeting is, because it's not on this one, is it? Not on that one either. 8th, oh, it is on that one, yeah. 8th of July, Wednesday, 8th of July. Is that the World Cup final that day? I don't know. Yeah. Right.
John and I won't be there, so don't do anything financial.
Oh, okay, good. We'll all spend the money. The meeting is now closed. Thank you very much, everybody.